YouTube, let's get back into the swing of things. We're going to get right into it, man. If you are new here, consider please hitting that sub button. We are on the road to 2,000 subs. And if you've been here before, leave a like, leave a comment. Let's get this thing rolling. So as we do, man, we are going to dive into some settings today. We have pretty much covered all of the controller settings. And before the fires, before the evacuation, before I got sick, we started to dabble in some coach settings. So when I was brainstorming what I'm going to do for this video, it popped into my head that somebody in chat once upon a time asked me a question that had to do with things that are on auto and things that are on manual. So today, let's talk about it and let's talk about why. So we are gonna go over to features. We pop over to coach settings. Now here we go, man. I'm gonna talk about all the things that I have set to manual and why I have it set to manual. A glimpse into that answer is because the CPU does not know what the it's doing. So let's talk about it, man. The very first one, timeouts are set to manual. For me personally, I know that the 2K devs have really tried to incorporate momentum swings and the shifts of the energy and the vibe. And we know that translates simply, specifically into the algo. The algo of the game is super frustrating at times. And what's even more frustrating at times is when your CPU coach decides to call a timeout when you really don't need one. Because there are times that I feel that I'm okay in a situation and I don't really need a timeout. I don't want to waste that timeout that I might need later. So that's basically it for that, man. Look, I want to be in control of the timeouts. This is not IRL, man. We don't need a commercial break in the middle of the broadcast. A timeout needs to happen at this time and that time. It's unnecessary. We don't need it. Let us make the call. The next two go pretty hand in hand and are definitely important. Player minutes and substitution. Both on manual, yes please. Anyone who plays 5v5 modes know that you sometimes have a better experience with certain players. You are better at their jump shot for whatever reason. Some players' jump shots or move sets or your ability to control them just makes sense to you. Some of these players have lower overalls, higher overalls. It doesn't really matter. If your comfort level is high with a certain player, I suggest using that player and getting the most out of them. You cannot do that if your substitution and player minutes are on auto, because the coach that wanted to call all these timeouts is going to be as equally annoying when they start subbing out your players, when you're just getting comfortable, when you're just heating up, sending people to the bench for no reason. And on the flip side of that, your bench might be doing really well. You might have some really interesting matchups, and then all of a sudden your coach sends in the starters that might have been having trouble, and now you've just given up all of your potential momentum that you have with the bench, and now you sit them down just because your starters are supposed to be getting more minutes than your bench. This really comes down to just having control over your team. For me, that's all it is. I want to be in control, man. Let me be the coach. I'm the player, the coach, whoever. We are everything when we have these teams going. So let me just do that. Now, some players, I get it. Not everybody's basketball IQ is going to be on the same level. And there are definitely a time and a place to put this on auto for certain people. We're going to go down here to offense play calling. Determine if you would like to call your own offensive plays or let the CPU do it for you. Again, I want to be in control. For example, if you set a 5-out play and then coach on the sideline, which you don't even know it's happening, decides to call a play from the sideline, and now your players are running around doing something, and you tried to call something else. Now you're confused, they're confused, nobody knows what's happening, and you've probably just wasted a bunch of the shot clock. Now you gotta put up a tough shot. Dumb, not a fan, put it on manual. Defense play calling. Look, this one 2K has struggled with in general. When it comes to defense, we all know the corners used to drop for years. They still do from time to time. You can put on stay attached always. You can put on no drive help. No help ever. And as soon as somebody drives, who drops? The corner, ready to help. I have been having a little bit more success with it this year. Overall, it's still like PTSD annoyance. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like baked into my brain now. You're not gonna leave a knockdown shooter in the corner wide open by themselves. That's not the game plan. Anyway, I'm absolutely ranting right now. Basically, I got this on manual because there are times that your team will then send a full court press. For what reason? For no reason. We don't want to see a full court press out of nowhere. We don't want to see a zone out of nowhere. We don't want to see switches out of nowhere. We don't want to see double teams out of nowhere. We want to use our buttons to call double teams. We want to use our buttons to make switches, your A switch, your X switch, all of those things we want to have control over, man, because once again, and I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but just let us play the game. And then just below that is late game fouling, man. And this one was the question that I got asked in chat. How do you turn this off? This by default is on auto because some people don't know when, how late, who that they should foul, that type of thing. So the game will do it for them. In a late game situation, you're trying to get the game back into free throws so that you can get more possessions, prolonging the game, blah, 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 blah. However, there are absolutely times that you would rather try to go for a double team or a steal, or you would want to wait for them to pass it to a weaker free throw shooter. And this is why I put it on manual. And the very last one in the coach settings screen here, we are setting teammate cut to basket to manual, because just like our offense play calling, if we set something up and teammate cut to basket is on auto and we have teammates randomly cutting without us even knowing when it's going to happen, we are probably A, gonna miss that cut, and B, whatever we were trying to set up probably just got messed up because now somebody is out of position. Again, wasting time off the shot clock, probably eventually gonna move us into a more and more difficult shot. And that sounds like a wasted possession to me. And we wanna minimize wasted possessions, man. And that's gonna do it for these, man. Coach setting, things on manual, timeout, player minutes, substitution, offense play calling, defense play calling, late game fouling, and teammate cut to basket. Again, there is definitely a time and a place and a specific person or player where these settings can be put on auto and you'll probably be okay. If you're in super casual mode and you don't want to think too much, go through the motion, get the games in, team games, play now games, whatever it is, whatever you're doing, then by all means, put it on auto, go about your business, enjoy, kick your feet up, have a great time. But if you are somebody trying to win some games, trying to be not comp, but competitive within your own games, you don't want to get blown out by 50 every single game. Side note, shout out to Splash, who's been playing Twitter bots and blowing them out by 50. I think that's so funny. Anyway, that's a very side topic. The point is, you want to have control of your team. You want to have control over what they do. You want to be in charge of making the decisions. That is at least my opinion. You will give yourself the best chance to be in a game and to be holding your own within that game. I hope you enjoyed the video. It feels good to be back in the swing of things here. So if you had a good time or you learned anything new, I hope we see you next time. And until then, stay happy, stay healthy, stay hydrated, and put some sauce on it.